The United States, and the world more broadly, has seen a shocking uptick in political violence over the past few years, and it's been interesting to see how the reaction can vary so heavily based on who the victim and perpetrator are. Just this year, we've seen a shooter attack CDC headquarters, arsonists set the New Mexico Republican headquarters and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro's house ablaze, an ICE officer killed outside a detention center in Texas, Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband killed, and the most recent assassination of Charlie Kirk at an event in Utah. Just last year, Donald Trump himself was the target of 2 assassination attempts. Princeton University's Bridging Divide initiative recorded over 600 instances of threats and harassment against local officials in 2024, a 74% increase from 2022. Why are we seeing such a drastic increase in partisan attacks? The answer to that is obviously multifaceted, but this video is to address one that has been growing for at least a decade, if not longer: tribalism. Americans have always had political differences, and after 9/11, the US had a sense of unity not seen probably since the Second World War. But since then, we have, not so slowly, been separated back out to our sides. And generally, you might think that's normal. In the wake of tragedy, people unite, but eventually return to the status quo. But why is the divide so different now than in the past? And why does it feel like it's constantly accelerating? In the past, people and politicians had their differences, but back then, people left their political differences in the political realm. Ronald Reagan didn't believe Walter Mondale was a bad person because he disagreed with his policies, and certainly didn't go on national television and admonish him as a threat to the country. In a 1985 speech, Reagan noted that if his party were to, quote, let you down, you don't owe us your undying loyalty. He made it clear that loyalty was to principles, not to the party or group itself, and that people were right to leave if the party strayed from its values. There's also a popular clip of John McCain rejecting a woman's negative character assessment of Barack Obama, saying that while he disagrees with him politically,
he's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about.
Today that's changed. People don't see politicians as custodians of democratic values meant to push legislation on behalf of their constituents. It seems that people today view them as mercenaries elected to take the fight to the other side.
That you cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and/or the Senate, that's when civility can start again.
If she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. But
instead of people of different opinions coming together to make compromises, politics today have devolved more so than ever into an us versus them, black versus white, and good versus evil mentality. This tribalistic distinction causes people to only see the opposition as the other that is solely out to get them, leading weak and mentally broken people into a belief that any action to stop them can be justified, while any criticism towards us is akin to violence requiring retribution. We're no longer humans of different perspectives. We're enemies threatening each other's way of life. And that zero-sum line of thinking comes with dangerous ramifications. And through this hyper-partisan form of selective morality, any action can not only be justified but celebrated. After all, what's more morally noble than preventing the next Hitler from gaining power and influence? Another problem with this tribal detachment is the fact that people who celebrate taking down social and political figures largely don't even understand what those advocates are saying. People don't take the time to actually understand what the opposing argument is. They're only willing to engage a 5-second out-of-context clip with the surface-level retort. Instead of engaging in the true foundations of a point, people love nothing more than to construct and demonize an idea of what a person believes. It's easier this way. Why involve yourself with the complex and tedious philosophical underpinnings of life, value, and responsibility when you can simply say that pro-life advocates hate women? The laziness of unintellectual tyrants is causing the breakdown of civility. It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from Robert E. Howard, creator of Conan the Barbarian, that says, "Civilized men are more discourteous than savages, because they know they can be impolite without having their skulls split." The great aspect of modern society is the comfort to know that violence against people is a rare occurrence. But people certainly take advantage of this security to get away with brazen disrespect. I may think people and ideas are stupid, but I would never make the claim that the person is morally evil without really understanding them and having a long list of evidence to back that claim. Properly interpreted and contextualized evidence, not ghosts of arguments I've inserted into the words they've said. If we have gotten to the point where people of differing beliefs refuse to make honest interpretations of one another and actually address real differences, I'm not sure how we can come to reconciliation. As Charlie Kirk aptly said, when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. Honest intellectual confrontation is a problem for unintellectual people. While some issues can come down to differences in values and perspectives, we also see people hold on to their beliefs no matter how much counter-evidence is presented. The team-like effect of modern tribalism amplifies this phenomena because you feel obligated to support your team, to not let them down, and it's harder to leave a group you feel a connection to. But blind allegiance is neither moral or intellectual, and allowing yourself to feel a moral obligation to people instead of principles is exactly how we end up in today's state of affairs. Now let's talk about another key development in recent years: social media. Social media has absolutely escalated this divide to a new level. With highly sophisticated algorithms controlling everything that pops up on our screens and anonymous accounts immune from accountability, how can we not expect people, particularly young people, to be pushed further to the extremes? Social media platforms allow people to enter a radicalizing feedback loop that, as we've seen, attracts psychotic people into fanatic acts of violence. The desensitization of seeing all the problems of the world all the time, combined with a purposeful angle of coverage provided by the algorithm, ensures that an increasingly hopeless group sees no pathway out but the extreme. When people get to a certain level of desperation, humanity and morality unfortunately tend to go out of the window. Before the internet, to express your views, you had to actually go out in public and say them. The risk of social shame and ostracization generally kept radical views in check. But the movement of the public square from a physical place you had to go to the internet allowed people to say crazy things from behind a screen and made-up username, where they don't have to consider the social and moral effects of their words. This lack of accountability allows for reckless behavior, and even if the person who posts such reckless ideas is not serious about them, the person who reads it might be. A quote similar to the one I mentioned previously from none other than Mike Tyson comes to mind, that social media made y'all way too comfortable with disrespecting people and not getting punched in the face for it. While I'm by no means advocating for anyone to get punched in the face over words, I think returning to a general understanding that you should probably be more considerate before saying things on a public platform that could elicit such a response would be beneficial to society and the future of social media. The foundation of the problem does not lie on the fringes, but with people who seem totally normal. For years we've seen mainstream commentators up their fear-mongering characterizations of the other side. Not only have we seen people on both teams allow for the escalation of rhetoric, we've seen them celebrate it. Because once people are on a team, there is no moral consistency. They're too committed to admit that their team may have gone too far, so they justify, obfuscate, deflect, and project the clear issues on their team to the opposition. There is no accountability with tribalism, and without accountability, there cannot be morality. In order to reverse the direction we've been heading in, a serious reorientation of how we view one another needs to happen. As with other tragedies, many people all over the political spectrum are calling for new attempts to bridge the gap and peacefully disagree in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. The question that remains to be seen is how committed people truly are and how long this feeling will last. The same people calling for unity now did so after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And as we saw, maybe a week of toned-down rhetoric before they went right back to business as usual? Not to mention that many pundits refused to retract inflammatory statements at all, claiming that calling people Nazis and fascists can't be blamed for legitimizing violence. We should all do a better job of giving grace to those we disagree with. That doesn't mean we stop pushing back on beliefs we find reprehensible, but first we have to really figure out what they believe, what we believe, and battle those ideas, not necessarily the people. Maybe that's impossible in an era where blood sport debating and character assassination is becoming increasingly popular. And maybe I'm too idealistic, but I like to think that it's still possible for us to at least initially engage in good faith and try to understand our differences without jumping to false conclusions. If we can't do that, then I guess we're coming to a time that will truly test the durability of the American experiment. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a comment below on what direction you think our political discourse will head in the coming years. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.